Okay, welcome back to the Snap. Michael Heaver here, alongside my co-host Patrick O'Flynn, of course, and a huge story that much of the country is talking about. No, not the one that I'm sure you've seen beamed out non-stop on TV news today, Patrick. It's the launch, now official launch day for GB News, an alternative on TV, and the reaction we're getting is that people are ready for this in a big, big way.
Yeah, it looks like very soon we're getting a channel that might discuss the issues that most people actually care about. GB News announcing it's going to launch on air on Sunday, June the 13th, in the mid-evening, with a special welcome to GB News program, and then sort of divulging more about its lineup of shows. This is a real big moment. This is potential to break the monopoly of opinion of the woke liberal left over broadcast news output on a television.
Yeah, and of course, in our own way, we're doing our bit to help provide an alternative to mainstream media. So make sure you hit subscribe and the bell, guys, if you do enjoy the show here on the Snap. But I just think, Patrick, it's extremely telling that so many seem to be rattled already before GB News has broadcast. And I think it shows you once again this sort of left-wing intolerance. They don't even want there to be media plurality, a greater choice for the British public. We've already seen a ridiculous campaign to try and pester people in terms of those who are looking at sponsorship advertising with GB News. I think this is because, Patrick, certainly in terms of the broadcast media, it is skewed now so far to the left that I think a lot of those people on the left realise that and can see that GB News has the potential to become a bit of an equaliser.
I think that's bang on. I think, we've seen this on issue after issue going back years, from concern about immigration to support for leaving the EU, tougher law and order, you name it. There are certain people in the liberal left bubble who just can't believe there are widespread opinions that counter their own views. But I think you're right. There are others who know that those opinions do exist and are popular, and will stop at almost nothing to try and shut them out. Well, it's not very often that we get a moment or a movement that gate crashes things and throws the whole thing up and open. But that's what we've got with GB News. And really, it's up to us to support it and not to get on our high horse if they cover, one or two stories in ways that we personally find annoying. The whole point is to judge them over the whole of their output over a reasonable period of time, and support them as the monopoly breakers.
Yeah, and it strikes me, Patrick, that it's an interesting day to announce it, the launch of GB News, the official date, given once again we've got a media bubble absolutely obsessed by a story that I think most British people will look on with a sort of a sense of bewilderment, which is Dominic Cummings in front of MPs today. And of course, you had after that Prime Minister's questions, where we talked about this before we started recording, but Keir Starmer's performance, once again, absolutely appalling.
Yeah, the thing with Dominic Cummings, he's got a lot of interesting things to say. There is going to be a full public inquiry into these events, but let's face it, again, this is the new gotcha moment that the broadcast media in particular were after, following the Curtin Gate, the big set of elections that they thought the Prime Minister was going to come a cropper in, but he didn't. This is the new attempt to damage or jettison the Prime Minister, and the British people are far more intelligent than that. They'll weigh up all the factors in this horrendously difficult issue of COVID that arrived on our shores, as a novel virus, and they got a much more mature attitude to how the government and the Prime Minister struggled to cope with this. Got some things wrong, obviously, got some things like the vaccines programme very right. But I thought Keir Starmer's performance in Prime Minister's Questions, not only a disgrace, but just terrible politically. He came across simply as a wagon jumping, opportunistic lawyer out to score points. If he'd actually asked himself, what can I do to make myself look shallow, insincere, and on the make, he wouldn't have done anything different. I think the guy lacks political nous, antenna, and intelligence, and Labour is on the slide while he's in place.
As you say, I think Keir Starmer does not look like a future Prime Minister. He does not look like a statesman. He looks like an opportunist that, playing to the left-wing Twitter crowd, which is why you could see his leadership end very soon if the Conservatives do gain Batley and Spen constituency at the forthcoming by-election. But I just wanted to, going back earlier to GB News, Patrick, I just wanted to reference a speech that we saw in Parliament earlier or a few days ago from Lee Anderson, Conservative MP. And really, some of the sentiment that you're seeing from Tory MPs now, it's been reported that they're looking for a cut to the BBC licence fee. I think some of the sentiment that you're now seeing in Parliament is reflective of the public mood. Lee Anderson saying that, describing the BBC as rotten, saying that it's ripped up his licence fee and saying that it should be put onto a subscription model. And it does seem like a really interesting time for UK mainstream media. That at the same time, the BBC really has fallen to an all-time low. You have now got GB News or TV News Alternative launching at the same time.
Yeah, I think this is going to be another issue where public opinion leads the Conservative Party, as it did on Brexit. Let's face it, the Conservatives didn't get on board with Brexit in any numbers until we actually had the referendum campaign, and then they installed another Remainer, and only eventually, when they'd learned their lesson several times off the British public, did they embrace it. I think at the moment within government they're still of a mind to renew the licence fee and will do so, but I think it is an issue where the British public can actually lead. And eventually the Conservatives will get the courage of the general public's convictions. There are a few MPs who are out there, in the vanguard making the case, but I think there's a lot of campaigning to be done on this issue about the licence fee being inappropriate, the BBC being, endemic metropolitan left biased and not offering perspectives that are held widely across huge swathes of the country. And I think the GB News alternative offer is going to be one of those moments, particularly for the first year, to make sure it can get going and get sustainable, which is going to have an impact far greater than most of the people at the top of the BBC can possibly envisage.
Well, one thing I think we could do a bit differently here on the Snap, Patrick, is if those watching want to leave a comment about what they really care about, what they would like to see us talk about, perhaps something that's not been given the appropriate level of coverage elsewhere. We want to be interactive with you guys, so please do in the comments below if there's something you'd like to see myself and Patrick discuss on a future edition of the Snap. Do leave a comment down below, and it'll be interesting to see, Patrick, what's flagged up there, what the priorities of people that watch this show really are in terms of issues they want us to talk about.
It certainly will. I don't expect it will be about curtains. I don't expect it will be about a remark the Prime Minister is alleged to have made about the COVID killing over 80-year-olds most, without any context and any furore around that sort of stuff. It's going to be about jobs. It's going to be about law and order, about getting a grip on immigration control, and about making the best of the freedoms Brexit has given us to push our great nation into even greater heights. So that's what I expect the big stories that people care about to be. But again, I might be proved wrong too. So if people want to raise things, then we'll be delighted to debate them.
Yeah, one final thing I just wanted to mention, Patrick, thinking about it, is that I did a video yesterday on this development that Liz Truss is looking to forge ahead with a major trade deal with India, and that basically a consultation period has been kicked off now, where the government want to hear from the public, they want to hear from businesses about the best way to move forward with that deal. And don't forget, I mean, India, the market of 1.4 billion consumers, the UK, the UK government looking for a deal there to help create jobs, drive economic recovery, etc. And it was remarkable to me that the people that watched that report really hadn't seen any coverage of this whatsoever. And it's just, it never fails to stand out to me that when you've got these Brexit freedoms now, when we've got Liz Truss, people in government trying to think big, and maybe there won't be a deal with India, but the fact is they're trying to forge ahead and secure a major deal with India, something we can only do because we've left the EU. It just highlights to me again that the media tone and focus all too often is downbeat, negative, and I just think this is another example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the media haven't caught up with the changes that Brexit has already brought and more changes that are potentially there. I think as well, the media should be looking at both sides of this. Yes, a great thing if we can get a trade deal with such a big and fast growing market as India, but there'll be other aspects that we need to wheedle out and dig into the grit on, such as immigration controls with India. What's going to happen to those? What does that imply for the scale of inward migration from India and the skills of the people coming in? And those are questions that the government and Boris Johnson needs to be put under scrutiny over. And I don't see the mainstream media doing that either.
Well, look, guys, as I said, we want to hear from you. What do you want to see us talk about here on the Snap? Do leave your thoughts below. And of course, any feedback is welcome. Make sure you've hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the next show. Myself and Patrick will be back soon.
Thank you.